get the meaning of ornithology terms. Some words are new to me, like foraging, maneuver. Kindly share the dictionary.
So some of these terms, of course, you can just look it up. You can just Google for it. For example, foraging simply means finding food, the process of finding and acquiring food. Maneuver is how you, and this could even be for humans, athletes, how they uh, take certain paths. But there is, to my knowledge, there is no ornithological dictionary per se, but I think some of these you will very easily find if you just Google for them. If you
Yeah,
have specific terms we can clarify now, then we can do it.
yeah. I would like to add here that along with the lectures, we have also provided citations, under in the slides to specific studies that we refer to, and we have also given a list of suggested reading. So I think going through all that will also help you understand these terms better. Of course, the simplest and laziest way is to just Googling them.
Okay, then I'll move forward to the next question. It's again from Pondrats again, and he's asking how female heterogamete differ from humans. First question.
So in humans, it is the males who are heterogametic. That means we have, in humans, males have one X chromosome and a Y chromosome. So the gametes have two different types. And the females are both XX in case of humans. In case of birds, the females are heterogametic, unlike humans, and the males have the same gamete. So it's just that it's not like humans are heterogametic females, and it's not like difference between them. Okay.
Okay. And the second question from Pondrats again. I think what he meant to say is genetic monogamy system, can they produce healthy offspring? We are known that when reproduced within family can make unhealthy offspring.
So genetic monogamy should not be confused with inbreeding. So genetic monogamy simply means that they are pair bonded truly, where the male mates with the same female. That does not mean the female is related to the male. Inbreeding is when where a very small population and where all individuals are likely to be related to each other. So there's not enough heterozygosity in their genetic makeup. So they are all in some sense closer relatives. But monogamy simply means that they maintain pair bond, which does not imply that the males and the females are related. Now, monogamy can be of two types: social, in which they are pair bonded, but they may occasionally seek extra pair copulation, which is what I talked about, EPCs. Genetic monogamy, the possibility of extra pair copulations is not there. So, which basically means that the males and females are truly monogamous. Okay. It's not the same as inbreeding.
Okay.
Just
one
a minute,
more.
Sonia. I'll just
Yes,
get.
yes.
Sorry. Yes, I'm back.
Yeah. Okay, then one more question is from the discussion forum. So it's asking, is there sibling inbreeding in birds, or does the alpha have to be an individual from another parent to indicate courtship? I'm asking this as it would probably affect the transmission of genetic material vertically and affect the course of natural selection as well.
So again, birds or no birds, monogamy and inbreeding should not be confused. Inbreeding is when you mate with individuals that are unlikely to be very different in the genetic makeup than you. And a consequence of inbreeding can be when if you have deleterious alleles, which are few and far between, and these are recessive alleles, and they do not express when only one copy of that is present in the genome of the animal. But then if you mate, then the offspring will mate with a related individual. The likelihood that both copies for that of the alleles for that gene may be the deleterious allele, and therefore it will express, and then it becomes a problem. So that is an inbreeding problem. Monogamy simply means that you are pair bonded and you mate with the same partner, and you're not mating with multiple partners. So the transfer of genetic material, all of these things do not, there's no problem there. Does that, I hope that addresses the question.
Yeah, I hope so. If he has another, if further questions, then he can put on a discussion forum, I guess. And the next question is directed towards Mosmi, Dr. Mosmi. And the question is, carnivores depend on other species. According to the graph, insectivores cause more of concern, right? If it is restored, then carnivores will be an uptrend.
Okay.
Yes.
I think they're referring to the State of India's bird report trend that I had put in the foraging behavior lecture, where basically we look at how different groups, as organized or classified according to their feeding behavior, how these groups are declining, and we see overall decline in all across all gills, all groups. Be it insect eating birds or grain eating birds or fruit eating birds, but we see the most amount of decline in or magnitude of decline among the carnivorous birds. So these are the raptors. So there are many things to consider here. So the person is asking if it is declining because all the other groups are also declining, and if they get recover, if because carnivores feed on other groups, will carnivores also recover their population? So the main things to consider here, one thing is that carnivore decline that we observe, a majority of it is contributed by vultures having declined in recent years. So they contribute the major part to the decline we see, and as we all know, they have a single cause, a very specific cause of mortality, which has caused the loss of vultures in the subcontinent, and that is the veterinary use of the drug diclofenac. So one is that. Second thing is to consider is that carnivorous birds or raptors sit at the top of the trophic chain. So it's like, they are the top predators. So often if there are insecticides or any other toxins that are there in the atmosphere, in the environment, that are affecting other organisms adversely, them feeding, being on the top of the food chain, these things kind of magnify and might be adversely affecting them more, something which is known as biomagnification. So that could also be happening with raptors. We really don't know. And apart from birds, these raptors feed on a diverse range of species. As you know, they feed on lizards and rodents and all kinds of species. So there are you also have to consider how these populations are performing when you are investigating the reasons behind raptor decline. So there are like many chains of questions that we need to investigate to really understand what is happening with raptors. Does that answer your question?
I guess yeah, I
Yes,
think
ma'am. It answered my question, ma'am. It was my
Okay, thank you.
question.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
okay, then for now, most of the question from the discussion forum has been addressed, and so we can come back to the from the live chat this thing. Shall I read it out loud? Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay, so the first question is from Govind Sudarshan. Why are bird gametes called Z and W, and how are they different from X and Y?
Well, there are different sex determination systems in organisms. XY system is one kind of system. ZW is another kind of system for determination of sex in animals. Now, there are many others as well. In case of ZW and XY, it is not so. XY, if you think of mammalian chromosomes as for us, males are XY. In case of ZW, it is the females who are ZW. So they have female, for instance, birds, females have a pair of dissimilar chromosomes. So, chromosomes are in pairs. So just like XX are in pair, XY is in a pair. Similarly, ZW is also in a pair. It's just that male birds have two similar chromosomes, which are called Z and Z chromosomes, whereas the females have the Z and W chromosome. And it's not that genes are shared between XW and ZW and XY. So these are two separate sex determination systems, if you like. So there's no sharing of genes in between them. Okay. It's just a name given to them.
Okay, and the next question is from Saptarsi. What are the possible functions of non-breeding territory? Can birds reuse their nest?
What are the possible functions of
Non-breeding territory?
Non-breeding territories. Yeah, so there can be territories which animals maintain all year round, and many animals do that, which is not something which is like the breeding territories, which are maintained in primarily in the relation of reproduction. So non-breeding territories can simply be to defend resources such as food. So maybe a patch that has a bunch of plants which are flowering, and that is what the bird is defending all year round from all individuals, even from the females during non-breeding time. But in the breeding time, they may allow the females to come in. So it's just it has to be in exclusively in relation to reproduction. Then when we say it is breeding territory, in the breeding territories, it could be formed based on where the females are found or where the resources are found, and there the resources. So the only difference is functionally whether they are maintained during the breeding time or they are maintained even during the non-breeding time.
Okay, and he's asking whether birds can reuse their nest.
Yes, they do reuse nests. In fact, it can also happen that the nest of one species is reused by some other species.
Okay, the next question is from Sudhakar. I have heard from many that birds like Sarus cranes or hornbills mostly exist in pairs. And if any of their pair dies, the other partner do not continue their life and dies as well. How true is this?
So the example that I have given, I don't know if you attended that lecture. I hope you did. Lasian albatrosses, for example, they do mate for life. And I gave a specific example of a particular Lasian albatross, which is the oldest known banded bird, which is the name given was wisdom. So in this particular case, of course, in this species, they mate for life, and they do mate in successive breeding seasons with the same mate. But that once the mate dies, they will also die. I don't know if there's any scientific evidence for this. For the Sarus crane, whether they are monogamous, but are they socially monogamous or genetic monogamous? As far as I know, there's no published study that has shown that they are actually genetically monogamous, but they do seem to be socially monogamous.
Okay. Saptarsi is asking, what are the ecological factors on which duration of mating might vary?
Duration of mating?
Might vary. The ecological factors on which the duration of mating might vary.
So for the same species, typically mating durations are more or less conserved. So there is not too much inter-individual variation, but then you can imagine various ecological factors such as presence of predators. If there are a lot of predators, then one would expect that the mating duration, and by mating duration, I'm guessing you mean copulation. This cannot be very prolonged, right? So that is one ecological factor. Other ecological factors could be if, for instance, if you think of the trade-off between the time you invest in finding food versus finding mate, that could be one factor that can determine how much time you invest in acquiring mate or finding the mate. But copulation duration itself is by and large not very variable within species.
And the next question is from Govind Sudarshan again. He's asking, does monogamy imply fidelity? Can a monogamous bird still mate with another bird without leaving its partner?
Yes, yes. I talked about it in the lecture. Clearly, I didn't do a good job. Monogamy can be of two types: social monogamy and genetic monogamy. Social monogamy is when you mate with the same individual, so you are pair bonded. However, there are chances of extra pair copulation. So either the male or the female may seek mating with other individuals outside of their pair bond. It's only genetic monogamy which is truly monogamous. So in some sense, in other words, the offsprings have, the parents of the offsprings are exactly the ones who are pair bonded. So there is no chance of extra pair copulation. So fidelity wise, if you think, it is genetic monogamy. Okay, but there is also social monogamy, which has, I also gave examples of how there can be extra pair copulations.
Okay, the next question is not related to the guess this thing, but he's asking whether we can have a detailed guest lecture on the vocalization of babbler by Manjari ma'am or Sonia ma'am. I'm not sure I'm
Yeah,
qualified.
you should give. Yeah, maybe
qualified
Sonia
for
should
the
give. We can,
but
yeah, take it up at some point.
yeah,
Yeah, Sonia should
so,
give. She's the one who did the work. So
we can ask NPTEL regarding this. If we can schedule it, then we'll surely can get back to it. Okay, and the next question is from Sudhakar. Recently, there was an American black vulture spotted in Gurgaon. However, there has almost no sighting recorded in Asia for this bird. What are the expert views on this?
sorry, what was the last part? American vulture was spotted. What was the last part?
American vulture was spotted in Gurgaon. However, has almost no sighting recorded in Asia for this bird. What are the expert views on this?
On what? That why American vulture is not found in Asia?
No,
Or
no
why it was
sightings.
found occasionally? Well, there are. Yeah, Maushima, do you want to take this?
Okay, yeah. So I think typically these sightings are very very rare, and this is extremely unusual. And I think you learn more about migration and bird movement on such large scale in a dedicated lecture in coming weeks. But in this particular case, there were some allegations of it being a trafficked bird, which was illegally procured by somebody and just escaped captivity. But yeah, I don't think it is relevant to this session. Yeah.
Okay,
Manjari, would you like to add anything? Yeah.
No. In fact, even if, yeah, so just want to add one line that, vagrants are always there. I mean, even for migratory birds, sometimes they can get lost, they can be left behind. Such things do happen. But about the American vulture case, I actually don't know anything. So
okay. I think we can move to the next question then. It's from Aisha. In non-breeding season, some birds are seen in groups of 6 to 8, but once the breeding season onsets, only a pair can be seen in that area as in strict love interest. On what does it depend which pair will remain in that area and who have to look for new areas for breeding?
This is a fantastic question, actually. Um, I don't know how to answer this straight. I mean, people are trying to, there are several people who are doing PhDs on understanding fission-fusion dynamics. What are the drivers of fission-fusion dynamics in birds, especially in cooperatively breeding birds who seem to stay in groups during non-breeding season, but then they split into uh, uh, pairs during the breeding season. One possible explanation is to avoid, which has been proposed in some systems, is that the helpers who are typically the helpers could be the non-breeding individuals who have not yet attained reproductive status. So they are anyway not going to be part of the breeding pair. Other explanation in some other systems, actually the males, the primary pair bonded males and females retain to remain pair bonded, whereas the others are actively chased out, or they themselves may leave to acquire their own territories where they might seek breeding opportunities. So this, what exactly happens in this, it depends upon the system, and it is an active field of research is what I can tell you. It's a very good question.
Okay, the next question is from Govind Sundarsan again. When it comes to monogamous birds, do the birds always live in pairs or do they only meet up during breeding season? I think it's almost similar to the
Is it similar
previous
to the
question.
previous one? I guess, does it
It's
yeah,
almost similar
addresses
to
that?
the. Um, the next question is from Shreya Barnwal. Listen, I wanted to ask about coils and if they are abandoned at birth by the female, how do they know to lay their eggs in a crow nest? And is this behavior hereditary?
Yes, you have answered your question. It's an innate behavior. It's not learned. And in fact, if you go one step further, how does the quail know how to sing the exact same song? How does it sound like a quail and not like a, I don't know, a babbler or something else? Because these are, they have genetic basis. These are called innate behaviors.
The next question is from Mehala Kumar. What is the genesis of brood parasitism in avian evolution?
As an origin of brood parasitism, that I'm not sure, but what we know is many species in the cuckoo family are known to be brood parasites, and but it's not as though it is limited to the cuckoo family, but it is definitely another, it's an alternative breeding system, which of course begs the question that when you can outsource parenting to someone else, then why haven't most other species also evolved to become brood parasites? But this is simply another alternate system which also seems to work. It has been retained, and you see that very prominently in the cuckoo family. But at what point did it originate? I'm not quite sure from the phylogenetic point of view.
Okay. So the next question is from Lakshmi Bharadwaj. Those migratory birds who born for life, do they migrate together? If not, how do they identify their pair when they return?
I don't know. Maybe we have a special lecture on migration. So maybe that person can address a question about migratory birds.
Yeah, Sudhakar, for the explanation. From Saptarsi again, do migratory birds also show lacking behavior? think,
I don't know. Maybe some do.
the best, I think most the migratory behavior will be like can be addressed in the following session by the. So, okay. And the next question is sex of birds affects its fitness? Fitness.
Okay, so this question is in the assignment, so I don't think I should answer it here. Maybe after this week is over, I can send you the response personally. Devika, what should I do?
I
Yeah, we
think
should.
yeah we can
Yeah, we should wait.
we should.
All right.
Okay, from Lakshmi Bardwa, she's asking, she's interested in intograms and if we can suggest any books for it.
Yeah. So, Lakshmi, yeah. One of the classic papers which describes ethograms and most of how we study behavior comes from Jean Altman, observational study of behavior sampling methods. So that's, I think, what most of us have been using as the Bible to study animal behavior. Other than that, there are some other books like Animal Behavior by John Alcock. Manjari, would you like to add anything here? Any
No,
textbook?
acknowledgement definitely for
Yeah,
measuring behavior.
yeah.
Same question, huh? 9 years, I think you have to wait for another week for this answer. From Lakshmi Bardwas again, what would be the genetical makeup of offspring born through lacking?
I don't understand the question. If Lakshmi Bhardwaj is here, can you ask the question? What do you mean? Genetic makeup as in what way?
Ma'am, actually, you said, no, ma'am, ZZ and ZW are the chromosomes of male and female in the birds, no, ma'am. In the lecking, one male mates with many female, no, ma'am. So how would be the offsprings? They will have the same genetic makeup of the one male, or like the females also go and what to say? They copulate with other male, no, ma'am. So it's a full jumbled up.
In lacking,
So,
one male mates with multiple females, but the female, I didn't say mates with multiple males, right? So in
oh,
lacking, the female is still mating with one male, no?
okay, I got confused in that, ma'am. Sorry.
Okay. But you can still ask me this question. You can just change it to, instead of lacking, what in the case of the spotted sandpiper, where you have males who mate with only single female, but a female may potentially mate with multiple males.
Exactly.
The
That's
question
what.
is still valid.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to make, because everywhere if the male copulates with multiple females, that's the case usually seen. But usually polygamy through females is lesser known, ma'am. So I asked how
Yeah,
that
yeah.
goes.
No, that's why I wanted you to ask it yourself, so that this clarification is also there. That in lacking, it is polygynous. In case of spotted sandpiper, it is polygamous. Okay. Now, in case of the spotted sandpiper example, the females can lay multiple clutches. Okay. So she mates with one male. There is internal fertilization, lays the egg and scoots off. Okay. Male takes care of the offsprings. Then she can mate with another male and lay a next batch of eggs. Okay. So there again, there is no problem. The problem comes when a female before laying mates with multiple males. Okay. So this will happen if in promiscuous species, say for example, males are also mating with multiple females. The female itself may mate with multiple males pre-laying. After mating with male one, it's not as though it has laid the eggs. It may mate with another male, so on and so forth. And this is true not only for birds. This is actually true for many animals, including insects, mammals. So there are multiple things that can happen. The females can eject the sperms of the males. This is exercising one form of choice. There can be cryptic female choice. So post mating, there can females may exercise some sort of control to store sperms and not utilize sperms of some other males for fertilization. But there's also sperm male competition from the perspective of sperm competition. So there can be multiple, the sperms could be of multiple males, and one of the males sperm actually fertilizes, and there is no control over, the female doesn't have control over which one. But this itself is a strategy. I have not talked about this in this lecture too much because there's a lot to talk about in this particular one. This also ensures that the males will not be certain about paternity, and this does happen in some birds, especially in some raptors, where the paternity is uncertain, and thereby multiple males may provide care for the same set of offsprings, because paternity is not sure and multiple males have mated with the female. So it is interesting in its own right.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Good
That's why I
question.
asked. Thank you.
The next question is from Aisha. She wants to know how one can distinguish male and female in species where there is no sexual dimorphism, considering if the individual is in hen. She wants to know this for streak laughing thrush and jungle babblers.
I don't know about streak laughing thrush, but my guess would be the same as what I have for the jungle babblers. It is in the sound. So can you tell whether, if I switched off my video, could you tell if I am a female or a male? So I suspect that is how they also tell. If in absence of visual cues, there might be acoustic cues. It's just that we don't know how the animals perceive their world. So in the field of animal behavior, there's a concept of Umwelt, it's beyond the scope of your course, so don't worry about it, which also talks about how animals perceive their environment, their world, all objects and organisms in their environment. And we can only see what they do. We can only measure in animal behavior, we only measure their actions, which is what we call as work welt. But we can never truly understand Merck welt or their perceptual sphere. So we can only guess, and we can look for, how shall I say, we can look for evidence of sex-specific differences in vocalizations. I would put my bet on acoustics.
Okay, Krishna Jani is asking, do we have anything like matriarchy or patriarchy system in birds too, like we have it in some mammals?
Krishna, are you there in this meeting? Can you tell me what exactly you were thinking about when you say matriarchy and patriarchy?
Yes, I'm pretty much here. Thanks, ma'am. So what I tend to ask is, like, the way elephants have, a female leading the entire group. And we see that birds are mostly in the group, especially like when we consider flamingos or, like huge flocks of goose. So it's like they are in such a huge group. Do they also have a leader, and if the leader is specifically all the time male or all the time female, that kind of a matriarchy or patriarchy is what I'm thinking about for birds.
So in case of, I was thinking, if you were wondering about cooperatively breeding species. So because in cooperatively breeding species, the group is centered around the breeding pair, which has both the males and the females. But other gregarious birds who flock together for foraging or for migrating, whether there is patriarchy or matriarchy, like if there's a male leader or female leader, I am not sure. Maushumi, do you know?
Oh, not really.
Maybe
Okay, no,
you should find
no
out
problem.
and let us know.
Yeah.
No, Krishna, maybe you can find out and let us know.
Yeah, I'll try searching on Google for sure.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Vaibhav is asking, Malabar barbet and Coppersmith barbet have distinct geographical range. They also have similar vocalization. Can we correlate these two aspects? Means, can we say geographical range partitioning is due to acoustic similarity?
Vaibhav, we will have one entire lecture on vocal behavior. So perhaps you can just wait for a week or two and you will have some answers there. So I'll leave it for the next interactions that we will have. I will be there as well. So if the lectures don't answer your question, then I will try to answer.
Okay, from the next question is from Aditya Pal. What parameters should I consider while studying the breeding success of grassland birds? I'm trying to study breeding success in extremely shy birds, Bengal florican.
Breeding success, the best measure of breeding success, I would say, is the number of offsprings that they have. So number of fledglings, and then how many fledglings finally go on to adulthood. So this is one good measure of breeding success, I would say. The number of meetings does not necessarily translate to offspring. So Darwinian fitness requires not only that you get to mate, but you actually leave copies of your genes in the next gene pool. And if you extend it a little bit further, it's not just enough to have offspring, but the offspring should also come to the age of reproduction. So maybe you can track a nesting success in the Bengal florican.
The next question is from Aisha. Males usually defend the territory by singing, and most of the vocalization is made by males. But how can one say it is only made by males in case of species not showing sexual dimorphism?
Also, Aisha, again, very good question. In fact, again, some of this will be answered in the session on vocal behavior in animals, and I can address it. If my talk doesn't address it fully, then I can address it later. But to very quickly address this particular point, that if they are not sexually dimorphic, how do we assign whether it is male or females? For a very long time, what people did was to just assume that they are males. And in fact, it took a bunch of women researchers to figure out that this is not correct. Good question again. Thank you.
Ma'am, but in the case of Asian koels, it's very clearly seen sexual dimorphism is seen not only through the plumages or whatever, but also through the calls. Only few selective calls are made by songs and calls are made by males, whereas the beautiful koel song is usually produced by male. The other screeching and other unpalatable sounds are made by female. So even acoustic cues can also help us
Yeah,
in
but the Asian koel is sexually dimorphic. It's not monomorphic. The question specifically asks in case of species not showing sexual dimorphism.
I guess Lakshmi, I guess it's clear.
Aisha, I hope it addressed your question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, then the next question is from Saptarsi. What is the basic relationship between different types of mating strategies and parental investment?
What is the basic relationship? Oh, but I have done all of this in the class. So, Saptarishi, did you did you listen to the lecture fully? In fact, I map it completely. What we find. So if you look at mating systems, there are three kinds of mating systems, right? There is monogamous. Then among polygamous, you have polygynous, polyandrous, and you have promiscuous. What we see if we look at the parental care systems, of course, is that there is almost a complete, there's a lot of information from, especially from shorebirds, that monogamous species typically exhibit biparental care. Polygynous species have female only care, and polyandrous species typically have male care. Okay. So, spotted sandpiper, for example, is the male that provides care. If you look at the Lacy and albatrosses, which are the monogamous species, it is the breeding pair together that raise the offspring. And in polygynous, there are several examples of polygynous species where the males do not provide care. In fact, it is the females who provide care. Okay. I hope that addresses the question.
Okay. One request, Krishna, if you're here, can you please mute your mic? Thank you. The next question is from Sahana Arjun. What is the best method to observe the foraging behavior as to what is the amount of food, in parentheses, bees, it catches in a factor time in fast flying birds, for instance, the green bee eater?
Okay, so if you go back to the lecture, I talk about two basic types of behavioral sampling. One is the focal animal sampling, and the other is the scan sampling, right? Instantaneous or scan sampling. And I mentioned that, there are two kinds of behaviors also, two broad categories, states and events. States are long-term behavioral behaviors, and events are short-term instantaneous kind of behavior. So if you look at capturing a bee, it will be an event, and the method that can capture this kind of events is the focal animal sampling. So scans are instantaneous. Scans can only record states. So in this case, the best method would be to do focal animal sampling, where you identify or select a beater that you can observe without losing track of it, and observe it for a predetermined amount of time, and see how many times it is catching bees. Is that clear?
Ma'am, on that note, you had actually informed in that video about your own species, about Hume warbler and other two warblers.
Yeah.
Where can where can I get more information about it, ma'am? It sounds very interesting.
Okay. Yeah, the citation is mentioned in the slide. Otherwise, I can share it with you. Yeah.
Thanks, ma'am. Because I have some issues with my phone. I'm not able to see the video properly. So I might have missed it.
I think you ask questions in the discussion board, right? So I can email it to you. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. I will just ask it there.
Sure. Okay.
Or you can even share the link here if you have.
Okay.
I will
Sure.
copy and paste it.
Okay. Sure. I'll do that.
Ma'am, and one more thing. Ethograms are done only for newly found, newly discovered birds, or already existing birds can also be used for that, ma'am?
So usually we do it for species for which it has not been previously described. To just create like a systematic template to study the behavior using a proper framework. So usually what we do is like, for instance, you are studying new wobbler. You might not have to start afresh. You might be able to use studies which have looked at wobbler behavior, see how much of it applies to your study species when you do ad libitum observations, and then you can make changes to what already has been described to your specific, based on what you observe for your specific species. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Sonia?
Questions. There is one more questions from the not on the chat box, but from this Google Sheet that I've shared. So I think there is one last question, I guess. So I'll read it out loud. It's from Krishna. It's asking, among birds, why only males compete for females? Males tend to be more attractive than females, and they compete with other males for females. It's common among animals except human. Why is it so?
Go listen to the lecture all over again. That's all I will tell you. That is exactly what I talk about, that why are the males the ones who display and the females the one who get to choose. That was the main premise of the lecture. So in sexually reproducing organism, it starts with anisogamy and with the differential investment that males versus females put in their offspring. So you can just go back to the lectures, everything is there. If you still don't get it, then you can please write to me. Otherwise, I'll have to redo the lecture here. The entire lecture is on this. Sonia, is there any other question?
I think for now it's done.
So can
so.
I just ask if it's not completely inappropriate, who is Aisha? Aisha, are you a student? Like, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yes, ma'am. I'm a research scholar at Legal Muslim University. And for my research, I'm studying vocalization in street laughing thrush at
Okay.
Raniket.
Wonderful. Very nice to know you.
Thank you. Ma'am, actually, I'm interested in your study on babblers. So, if it's possible, you could give a lecture on it, this entire detailed study.
Sure, Sonia will give. If NPTEL wants, then maybe Sonia can give one.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not sure whether this thing we can have outside of NPTEL also, like we can have if it is possible. And I think so far no more new questions, I guess. And Devika, shall we wait for a while, or shall we? Is it okay if we wrap it up, or?
If Manjari, Moshmi want to say anything, otherwise I guess we can wrap it up. Yeah.
So I don't have much to say except that many of the questions related to vocalizations were also very interesting. But just to hang on to your horses for a bit, you will very quickly have a few more lectures coming up, and I assure you, you will have some of your answers there. Devika, the vocal behavior is probably next week or next to next week?
Next to next week.
Yeah, week 5.
Week 5.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for asking again. I know this is an inappropriate place to ask this question, but I'm a bit just I wanted to know if anybody who is interested in either vocalization or as Moshmi ma'am did program or anything, do they have to have some solid background, like they have to have done a particular degree or something, or they can just do their, if they have done the masters, they can do the PhD in it, ma'am? Because I have done MSc microbiology, and I am interested in all these studies. So how to get into it properly in an academic way?
Sonia, maybe you should answer this.
Lakshmi, what I can say is that there shouldn't be any problem in shifting as the academic, as I myself from the BSc graduation and master I have done in botany, and during my PhD I've shifted, like jump from botany to animal behavior.
No, is it possible?
So,
is it feasible, ma'am? Like, is it feasible? Because Google is not giving any proper answer to that. So I was like, I was asking somebody who is in this field, So
It's
How
possible.
would,
It's possible. I'm about to finish my PhD, so it's possible. The only thing is that you have to have the enthusiasm, and
okay,
you have, and I think you are fairly interested in this field. So keep it
yeah,
up, and I think you can write to people and what you
okay,
are interested. And the most important thing, you have to read it up because you have a different background. So you
okay,
need to know a little more about this field.
yeah,
And you can ask, you have to have a little bit of search from here
oh,
and there for faculties.
sure, sir,
And
sure,
then,
sir.
and NPTEL, I think NPTEL is a good platform to start
Uh-huh.
your this thing. And then you can write to people and start asking this thing. And
Sure.
once you are clear the national this thing eligibility test and all, I think you can apply anywhere. So
Thank you.
I,
Oh, okay, okay. We need to write NET exam. Okay, okay. Thank you.
okay.
Excuse me, ma'am. Can I ask a question if it's not too late? I'm sorry I joined late. This is
Yeah,
Sachin.
please go ahead.
Yeah, my question is I had gone through the lecture about the mating and behavior. So I had a doubt whether predation situation can drive the single parenting or characteristic in some birds or animals. You are muted, madam.
Sorry. Yeah, I think I also mentioned it somewhere. So providing care for the offspring is one of the major drivers of monogamy. So in providing care, it's not only providing care with respect to finding food, but it's also protection from predators.
Thanks.
Okay, I think we should wrap this up now. It's
Okay,
almost
yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Some great questions. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you for the inspiration, ma'am. You both are inspired me a lot.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Devika. Maushami. Bye-bye. Sonia.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you, Devika. Yeah.